Hello there. How are you doing today?
I should be feeling just great. I just learned that my final results from my evaluation rubric and student growth data are enough for me to move on to my third year as a probationary teacher.
That's great news, is it not?
Yes, it is, I guess.
Why do I get the impression that you are not so sure then?
Well, it is a sensitive matter. I am not sure that I feel comfortable sharing.
Please do not feel any pressure to share. I'm just a listening ear, if you wish to.
I appreciate your thoughtfulness. I know that I can trust you. Thank you.
What is it that makes you seem so uncomfortable?
Well, my scores on my student growth data and rubric were borderline. Remember, I was brutally honest about the level of proficiency I have in each standard area. This was a mistake in hindsight. Anyhow, I still passed, based on an extra factor that was added to the formula after my principal consulted with the data and planning department at the district.
That's good, isn't it?
It is good for me. A C. Elegant friend of mine was not so lucky to have this special treatment.
Special treatment?
It feels that way. You see, I have been identified as a member of an endangered species that requires protection. Because there are few of me around, my species receives a special weighted index score. I was unaware of this until today.
Isn't this one of those cases where you should just ride the wave and feel glad for an era of enlightenment?
I am trying to appreciate it that way. However, my friend and colleague does not have this extra factor. She is a common species and can be found anywhere. She is a good teacher from what I have seen, but will be put on a special program of training for the coming year. Her evaluation scores for student growth were about the same as mine. It is February after all, and sufficient data is thin on the ground. Her formula coefficient remains at 8. Mine was increased to 14.
Bummer.
Yes. She said a few more choice words than bummer when she heard.
That sucks for her.
I feel that I am suffering from survivor's guilt. It is difficult to feel happy about the outcome when your friend may struggle to get through the coming year. She is talking about quitting at this stage and looking for an alternative career path.
That is sad. But maybe you are simply a better teacher, and your principal has identified this in you. I would not carry the burden of the system on your shoulders, my friend.
There is nothing I can do about it. This is for sure. But I want my evaluation to be based on my ability to be a great teacher. Somehow, this system has got all messed up.
How would you like it to be set up then?
But therein lies the rub. An ideal system would have a master teacher evaluate the probationary teacher and support his or her learning as growth is made. Over time, the new teacher would graduate to master status.
But teachers are not licensed to evaluate teachers. You have to have a principal's license to do this.
I know. I said the ideal system would be set up this way. As it stands, evaluation is a hit-and-miss system, regardless of weighted scores being added in.
How so?
I am fairly lucky that my principal has a background in elementary education, even though she was only in a general education classroom for 3 years. But this is not true of all principals appointed to elementary schools.
Is it so then, that a person can be a principal of a school with little or no experience of the pedagogy or knowledge of the curriculum they are evaluating in their staff?
From what I have heard, this is very common.
Isn't this a no-brainer?
I think this is the reason for a high dependency on cognitive coaching techniques. If a principal has little to offer the new teacher, then asking them to reflect on their own performance is a way of establishing goals, based on the areas of growth identified by the teacher.
Would this work in the medical profession?
That's a good joke. Thank you for that moment of lightness.
Why is that such a funny question?
Here goes. Intern asks attending, what symptoms should I look for when this patient is about to pass out during treatment? The attending replies, what symptoms do you think you should look for? The intern continues, I think I should look for symptoms that indicate that the patient is going to pass out. There you go, the attending says. You have solved the problem for yourself. Set yourself the goal of finding out what the symptoms are to look for when a patient is about to pass out. Intern replies, okay.
I think I understand the difficulty. It sounds a little like the blind leading the blind.
That is a good analogy. Anyway, even if I cannot put the world to rights with a swish of my magic wand, it was good sharing with you. You are a good listener.
You know, there is an old saying, what goes around it comes around. This is true of education from what I have witnessed. Teachers who I talk to who have been teaching for years tend to sit back and wait.
Wait for what?
The next bandwagon. They come and go more often than you can imagine. You concentrate on getting through your next year. You too will become long in the tooth one day.
I wait with bated breath. Good night and thank you.
Have a good one.